Okay, I think we're live. This is Bill Bradford, Glenn Guy's Arcanum cohort, and I'm working on a Challenge 18 critique or feedback. And I've got Steve Johnson here with me, and we're going to go through some of my images for level 18 and get Steve's feedback on this and see if he can give me some information and point me in a direction to take some of these shots and see what we can do with those.
All right.
So how's it going, Steve?
Pretty well, Bill. I'm looking forward to seeing your images.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
I've watched you grow since you've been in the Arcanum.
Well, thanks. Yeah, and it's feedback
really nice.
from. Yep, it's good, and it's feedback from other people, and that's sort of what we're doing here, and just making new connections and meeting folks and getting feedback from a lot of different places. And so let me go ahead and screen share because I've got these set up in a Lightroom collection. I think. Oh, it's Lightroom has to be up, and then Hangout has to be over it.
Okay.
And then I can select it. Okay.
Ah, yes.
Okay, so they came through. Good.
Yes, I see them.
Okay. And I think the way this mostly works, although it's obviously a dialogue, but I think it's mostly, your feedback. This is more about you giving me feedback on these images, so that I can then massage them again before taking them to critique with Glenn.
Okay.
So it's less about me talking about them. As I think the way this is supposed to work, but obviously, I can give you a little bit of a description of what I was intending and what I was looking for and such as that, but it's it's not as much me
as it is me. All right.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just whatever you think, whatever impression you give, either hey, I like this, there's nothing I can change, or things you might look at to do different, or to try other ways. Just whatever feedback you see in this, and then I'll take those and do what I can with them, because like I say, we're massaging this set
for your final,
for the final critique. And then there's another. The way I understand this to be set up is I do this feedback with a couple of folks, and then post these videos and take their feedback and make changes to these, and then present for level 19, present this album, these 10 images, to get help on selecting the 5.
Very good.
So I think it's a little different from what we used to do, where we would present this album and say, hey, give me feedback and help me select which 5. Yeah, it's split now, so we get feedback, and then I can incorporate that feedback and then post the 10 images and say, hey guys, help me narrow this down to 5 to take to Glenn.
All right.
So I'll just go ahead and get started. We'll go through these, bring them up, and okay, this was Cades Cove in Smoky Mountain National Park, one sort of rainy morning, and the part I really liked about this, or what I was looking for, is just the different colors of green and the light that is out there on the trees and on the
fog and everything. Yes.
Yeah, sort of that whole environment and atmosphere. So that's sort of what I was going with, and like I say, I like panorama shots, so I do those whenever I get a chance. I think this was 2 images that I stitched together to create the panorama.
Okay. Well, first off, I like the panorama. I love the greens that you have going in this image. I like the foreground green, the greens up on the left hand side in the trees, the tops of the trees over there. That's really quite nice, isn't it?
yeah, I liked it, and then that's sort of what drew me to
to
this.
that image. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the fog. This a nice image. It looks like maybe a little something on the left-hand side in the trees. There's a little white thing in there. You see what I'm talking about?
I've got a couple that I could, because I've got these bits of cloud over here. Can you see my cursor as well?
No,
Okay,
no.
that's not helpful. Um, okay, I'm gonna have to describe this. There's basically three streaks of clouds in the far right hand.
Right.
Okay, so I've got those that
And those are okay. Yeah, those are nice.
okay.
And I was talking about the left-hand side in the
Oh,
trees.
left hand side in the trees. I misheard that. Okay.
And maybe I said right, but I meant left. It's my other right.
Okay, yeah. um,
It's a little something kind of in the about halfway down on the trees, right on the left-hand side.
right, I see two things there that you could be talking about. One is I missed a border patrol.
Right, I see that one.
Down right at the edge of the grass and the trees.
Right.
And then just up to the right of that, there's a whitish spot.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Okay.
That really grabbed my attention.
Jumps out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what that is. I mean, that's some dogwood flowers, but
Aha.
it's,
Okay.
it's not enough because it's the same as the trees on the, just down into the right of that. I think
Right.
I think it's in that same set of trees, but at this distance, it's hard to tell
Yeah.
to tell that. So it basically comes across as a white spot. Okay.
Right. Right. That's the biggest thing that jumps out at me on that I didn't like on the image. Other than that, I don't have much else to say.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I like the colors. I mean, it's a good image. Sorry,
okay.
I'm no help on this one.
No, you are, because I hadn't caught that. I mean, I was a little worried about the clouds on the right.
I like the clouds on the right. I like the way they're streaking and coming down like that.
Okay, yeah, I was a little worried that might not come across, and I had seen those, but I hadn't seen that, that tree over there. But
yeah,
that'll be an easy Photoshop fix.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm taking notes as well, so I'll know what to. Now I wonder if I can just. Oh, I can. Okay, I don't have to go back to the grid view and then come back into full view. I can just cursor over to the next image.
This image I like a lot. I've seen this image before, and I really like it a lot. I like how the water's not blown out. It's the water's very, very nice, and I like the long exposure you took on this thing, and it kind of has an S shape to it. The water does. It just kind of you flow with it. My one question on this: is it too dark? The foreground, is the foreground too dark? Would be my only question.
And so you're talking like the left hand, the other left.
The other left hand.
Yeah.
There are three sets of rocks there. One in the bottom right, one next to the right, and then the one on the left. And I'm just wondering if that is a little dark for them, because it looks like there may be some pretty pretty moss on those rocks. But
there is moss on it. And I can certainly look at that.
But that's a question. I really like this shot. I think you've done a wonderful job with what you've taken here.
It took me a while to get to this one. I was actually playing around with a different crop on this. I had a 3x4, and I had a couple of others. And as I was working on this, just this week, I said, I wonder what that would because there was a lot of chaos up in the upper trees.
Right.
And so I wonder what this would do as a panorama, and cropped it into this 1x2, and it's like, okay, yeah,
Okay.
I think I like this.
Yeah, I think you got the magic formula on this one.
Um, okay, so yeah, I can look at the light on those rocks in the front. That might help it some. I put some light in the back
Right.
on the rocks in the back, and that may have darkened the front too much. So I
Could
might
have.
play around with that. Was a light and center out of Color Effects Pro
Okay.
that
Okay.
I went in and put sort of in the background, but it may have been too much. So yeah, see what you're talking about. So I'll look at that and play around with it.
But this, to me, I find this image so serene. I like it. I really do like it. You've done very well with it.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, this was my fall struggle. I'm still trying to shoot streams in the east and such as that. And I went up here 3 or 4 times. This is a couple hours north of me, just up in the edge of the mountains.
Okay.
In above Dahlonega and sort of just to the west of Dahlonega, near Springer Mountain on the Appalachian Trail.
Okay.
For those that are familiar with the Southeast. So I went up there 3 or 4 times trying to get different images in the fall to sort of work through.
That is not. Yeah, this is a good one. I like this one.
Okay, thanks. Yeah. All right, let's see what else we got. Okay. These couple of I think I've got 3 flower shots in here that are real experiments for me. I was just looking at playing around with macro extension tubes and seeing what I could get, and something to do over the winter while can't get outside that much.
Exactly. Yeah. I like the colors you've got on this thing. I like the placement of the center of the flower up on the top right. I like this image, and I like the fact that it's tends to be sharper where the center is, and fades out as it gets away from it. That's nice. I'm no help to you, am I?
No, we're fine. We're finding stuff. But anything. I mean, even if it's all right, this makes me feel good, or whatever. That's helpful.
Now, this is again. You've come so far, and I think you did a very good job on your macro. You have come so far with your stuff. It's really, really nice. Well, at this level, though, you should be doing this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's it's sort of the way, the other way to look at it is like, all right, I've been in the Arcanum for a year and a half now, taking the slow road. But yeah, it should be, we should be getting some good stuff.
Yeah, I don't see anything I would change on this image. I actually like it a lot. So.
Okay, well, we'll move on then.
All right.
And I've got another one. This was again from earlier. That same thing, playing around with the macro extension tubes, and there was a lot of different light sort of going on with this one, because I had incandescent light on the background and window light on the flower, and was highlighting the stamen, I think that's the right, with a flashlight.
Nice.
Picked up some ideas from Les, and sort of using a little flashlight on that. So I had all kinds of light going on in this thing.
Okay. I will say, for me, this one, for me at least, is not as successful as some of the other images.
Okay.
I don't really know what to say. I guess perhaps maybe I wish it were a little bit lighter in the foreground. I realize that was not your interest was not the foreground. It was more on the stamen and the petals that were backlit. But to me, maybe it's the foreground needs to be a little on the left-hand side, especially. Seems perhaps maybe that's a little dark. I don't know.
The foreground of the petal or
Yeah,
the okay? So the pedal itself.
the pedal on the left hand side, that where it goes into the valley of the pedal.
Yeah.
And I find myself wishing that were maybe a little lighter, not a great deal lighter, but just a little bit lighter. I don't know. Um, and yeah, for me, this image, I think you've done it well, but it doesn't strike me as strongly as some of the other images.
Okay.
How's that?
Okay. Yeah. No, that's fair, and that's what I'm looking for. So,
Okay.
which because it's also that sort of emotional thing, or all right,
Mm-hmm.
which ones strike you, um, as well as you missed a spot in the in the trees and it's distracting. So got both
Yeah.
both things that we're looking for. Okay.
Um,
All right. We'll move on to the next one then. This was a sunrise that we were rushing to get to because it took longer to get down to the beach
than
from
you anticipated. Yeah.
from the hotel than we were expecting. We thought it was a 20-minute drive, and it was more like a 30-minute drive. And we get here and are getting this kind of clouds on the horizon and red sky, and so it was a scramble to get set up and
Mm-hmm.
get something captured.
Well, I like this one. I like how you've got the reflection in the water in the foreground, mirroring what's in the sky. That really comes across nice, doesn't it?
I think so. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
sort of what I saw. I saw that little pool, and it was like, okay,
One thing you might want to do is in the reflection. I wonder what would happen if you were to lighten it up a little bit more to match more closely the brightness of the clouds in the sky. Just an idea.
Okay. Yeah.
Just an idea. I mean, actually, I like the reflection a lot. That is beautiful. One other thing that I'm wondering about is there's some clouds at the very, very top that look like they're probably not real sharp, look a little soft up there. And I'm wondering if you even need those. Does that make sense?
Are you talking in the center of the image, just down about a fifth? There's a patch there.
Yeah. Well, actually, the very, very top of the image. You see there's a line going down starting from the left going to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The break in the clouds. Yeah.
Right. The clouds above that, do they really add to the image that much? It's just a question.
Okay.
I'm putting my fingers over them because the clouds that I think you're really showing are the ones that are the reflection in the water, which is the main clouds that are in the center of the image, I think.
Yeah, and that's what the reflection is.
Yeah.
I'll look at that because I've played with a couple of different crops.
Yeah. I mean, these are questions. What you have is very, very nice. I'm not putting it down at all.
Yeah, no, but we're looking for things that could make it better.
Yeah.
What could, okay, yeah, it's good. What makes it better? I think Glenn says something about the little 1% additions.
Yeah.
Just do something that adds just 1% to it here, and do another thing that adds 1%, and eventually you've got a 10% better shot.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look at that as well and see if I can play around with that, because that might push me into a square crop.
It might, yeah.
Which I'm a fan of as well. The 2x3, the standard out of the camera crop is the one I use the least.
Yeah.
It seems like I do squares or 1x2s or 4x5s or
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, just something different. So I'll have to see, because if I make this into a square, I've got another one from a little bit later in the morning that'll show up here in a minute. that's already a square that might turn into, you know, sort of a set of images, or, you know, some things that could go together
Yeah.
somewhere. So that might be
Okay.
interesting. Let's see. Oh, and it comes up next.
Aha. Yes. Yes. This was this like Botany Bay or someplace, or?
No, it was just down from Beaufort. Aspen. My cat's getting it, you know.
Just down from Beaufort. Was it Hunting Island, or?
I believe so.
Okay. Out towards Fripp Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lighthouse right behind us.
Yeah, that's Hunting Island.
Okay. Yeah.
Hunting Island State Park. Yeah, that's a beautiful. You know, I used to live in Beaufort.
So, oh, okay. Yeah, that's where we were staying. We thought it was 20 minutes down to here, and it took us more like 30, 35.
Yeah.
So we were rushing to get down here, but this was a few minutes later, as we found some of the driftwood and was looking for, you know, compositions and stuff. So it was, again, another morning.
Yeah.
Morning shot.
Again, I mean, I like the tree stumps. I'm a sucker for these kind of pictures. I like these, and with the sun. Was that a sunrise or a sunset?
It's sunrise.
Sunrise. That's right. That's on the East Coast. Yeah, I mean, I love how you've got those framed together. That's really nice. And again, I think in this one though, you do need some space above it, above the tree trunk, the base of the tree, the tallest one. So yeah. I like the fact that you've got that space above it. It gives it some room to breathe.
Okay, so you're not saying I need more space than I have.
Correct.
Okay, it's just that instead of cropping in and cropping those clouds out, you leave it.
You could. I kind of like it. I kind of like the clouds up there because it gives kind of a border, and then the roundness of that space there kind of offsets the roundness of the sunrise, the sun coming up. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, the round, the oval of the blue sky,
right?
It's peeking through. Yeah, okay, yeah, I can see that.
Kind of balances out the sunrise, the sun itself coming up. So I don't think I would change anything on this image. I like this one. I'm a sucker for these type of images.
Yeah, well, it's something, you know, I play around with, but like I say, I'm, you know, trying to learn to shoot more on the East Coast, and so, you know, stuff like this when I get a chance, and mountain streams and such as that. And yeah. I tried a lot of different. There was a lot of chaos in a lot of this driftwood.
You're right,
because there were a lot of trees down there, and we were scrambling looking for compositions as the sun was coming up. It's like, all right, what can I find?
Yeah.
What's got too much?
And what's so sad is Hunting Island is disappearing rapidly. Just so much of it's being eaten away, isn't it?
Yeah, there were a lot of trees, because it was, I don't know what the tide was, but it was, there was 100 yards of sand and beach that, was covered in these trees that, I guess haven't been down that long.
No, I can remember 30 years ago that beach, none of that would have been underwater. Where those trees were, all of that would have been up high above the water. So,
yeah.
Anyway,
yeah,
nice.
Shoot it while you can.
Exactly, because it don't last.
Yep. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Okay, the problem child.
Yes, yeah, I've seen this one before,
yeah.
And
yeah, we've talked about this one a couple of times, and I tried something different, and
it's fighting back a little, isn't it?
Yeah. And I submitted this to Megapixel.
Okay.
And got Ollie Dale and was Martin Waltz.
Okay.
To so I've submitted to there, and they've chose this for critique, and I've incorporated some of that, and like I say, I've talked with you and Chris and some of the guys on on this one as well. So I've worked on it again,
Okay.
and so you can see if I've made it any better for you, or
You've done some nice things with it. And I will say, just in looking at it, you know where the center of my attention is. My attention is drawn right to the center of the image where the water is coming down.
okay.
You
So
know what I'm talking about?
between the two rocks, that flow, that fall.
Well, it's where the fall hits the remaining water.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and first thing I noticed there is there's a lot of white space there. A lot of it looks like it's a little overblown right there. Does that make sense? I see a white blob with
Okay.
no definition. That, does that make sense? I wish I could. I'm pointing to you. Don't you see?
On your screen, yeah. Well, I'm pointing with my mouse, and it's still not helping.
Yeah, yeah. That's the first thing I see. The next thing I see with that water is not the water above. To the right of that is nice. The water to the left, for some reason, looks a little greenish to me.
Okay.
And I don't know why, but that looks a little greenish. The rock on the bottom right-hand side, I think you've done a lot of work with that one, haven't you?
Yeah, like I say, this has been the problem child for a while, and I've processed, I think, 4 different crops, and the first one, the first thing I did was crop to a 1x2. This was the first one that I did that basically took out the bottom part of the rapids in the water.
Right.
And all of the different feedback I was getting was people wanted to see more water and wanted to see all of that little flow.
Right.
So in order to get that, I had to go back and reprocess, basically go back to my raw files, because the first thing I did was crop, and it had cropped that out. So I went back to my raw files and tried to reproduce the processing.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting challenge.
Yeah. I can imagine. Well, let me tell you what I'm seeing with the rocks.
Okay, yeah.
2 rocks in the front, in the foreground, the bottom right, and then one right above it. They have kind of a yellowish tone to them, orangey yellow tone to them.
Yep.
And the rest of the rocks pretty much have just a gray tone. So they seem to be immediately out of place with everything else. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, I can see that.
And so I'm wondering what it would be like to maybe some of the rocks that are further in the background, if you were to paint a little bit of that yellow tone on them to kind of tie them all together.
Okay, instead, yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. So instead of cooling down the rocks in the front, because that would probably be my
first choice,
first instinct. So
would be to leave those warm because the water's kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so you've got the warm with the cool water, and maybe warm up those rocks in the back, because I think you've got kind of a cool green back in the back. Just wondering.
Yeah, no, that's something to look at and play with, because I was, because those rocks were a bit overexposed, and so I've been playing around with them, and a couple.
They look great now. I think they look great.
Okay, but I hadn't thought to warm, because I mean, I've been playing with the overall tones, and that's part of what's going on in the lower left. Is I had too much blue in that, and tried to pull it out, and looks like as I pull the blue out, I added green.
That's possible.
Or pull the blue into a green. As I was trying to pull the blue out, actually, I think I added yellow.
Okay.
Which would
tend to warm it up a little, though.
Yeah, because it was a little
Too
um,
blue.
too blue, and so I was trying
Yeah.
to pull some there, and so I might have missed the color grading on that. I do know that I have a gradient in there,
Okay.
that I would applied to that adjustment. Um, so I can go back in and look at that and finesse that some more. Um,
Aren't pictures fun to play with?
yeah, no, but that's good. I mean, and that's something you look at and you sort of have to analyze. All right, yeah, that is a little too green, or
Yeah.
like you've said, the rocks don't exactly match, and maybe you can put your finger on it, and maybe you can't. But
Yeah.
you know, that's one of these exercises so that we can get where we can
And
see that.
I know I've gotten to the point now when I'm working on a image, I change so many things just to see if I like it or not. It's gotten fun.
Yeah, no, it is. And like I say, I've played around with the color on this one a good
A
bit,
good bit. Yeah.
in different areas, trying to get because like I said in the megapixel, in the little description I left for him, I was trying to get something that kind of hinted at sort of a mystical kind of setting, but or fairyland kind of thing, but only a hint.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so I was playing around with different little bits of stuff in this one. Okay, so that gives me some more stuff. I'm just sitting here looking at those rocks, trying to think. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I see what that is. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah. It may not pan out, but it was an idea.
Yeah, no, and then like I say, I'll have 6 versions of this.
Well, wait until you get Chris and some of the other people on there. You might have a dozen versions.
True, true. Um,
Now, was this Saint Bonaventure?
yes.
Yes, I've seen this image before. I like this image. I I like what you've done with this thing.
Yeah,
The
this was an experiment. Like I say, it was on the same trip. We were down in I believe it was November. We were down Charleston, Beaufort, and came over on the way home. Came through
Savannah.
Savannah. It was like, let's go to Bonaventure again.
Yeah,
Been there once, and so we were thinking, all right, we'll get there, and we'll be good photographers, and we'll shoot sunset.
yeah,
They closed at 5.
yeah, yeah. Gosh.
So we got there like at 3:30 in the afternoon, and it's like, okay, well, and then all of a sudden we had
It
an
was
hour.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, we had an hour, and I shot a lot of this one, and I'd been there before and had a picture of one of the other monuments, and I wanted to go back and find it and try again on that other image, and we were scrambling around and trying to find it, and had to go do the lookup
Yeah.
at the visitor center and all that kind of stuff. But this one, I worked all the angles. I would all the way around this thing, trying to find the light, find something interesting in it, and I was somewhat disappointed that because the light was behind it, and that's why it's on the back
Right.
of the statue. But it's like, all right, that's what time it was, so that's what I had to.
That's what you had to work with. Yeah.
Yeah, and then started playing around with the processing, and just hit a preset somewhere and said, oh, that's an interesting idea, and then kind of followed it.
Worked from there. Yeah, I like how you've made it a little, almost like a cave back behind her. That's really nice, and you even got the resurrection ferns going up at that tree on the top left, which is kind of nice. And you've got, is there such a thing as a negative vignette? What do you call that?
I'm not sure, but that is what's on it.
Yeah.
And I think it was in Silver Effect. Yeah, it was a preset in Silver Effects
Okay.
that it's not a white vignette on the outside, but it's like a faded on there, and it was more extreme, and I've sort of brought it in some, and put a little bit of a sort of a dark vignette back in there to sort of bring it in some, because it was but like I say, it's not white. It's got a background color.
Yeah,
This whole preset has that sort of sepia background.
yeah.
Um,
I like that. Now on her, did you do some split toning on her? She looks a little bit uh, like the color's slightly different than the rest of it, or is that just my
no,
tired eyes?
it's nothing intentional. Um,
Hmm.
on a split tone on her. What I have done though is there's, and I'm not sure how much of this would come across in the Google Hangout, but I've left just a very little bit of green in the foliage.
Okay. Yeah, I see
Um,
it now. Yeah,
yeah, so it's not a pure
sepia or anything. Yeah.
sepia or monotone, anything like. I bled some of the green back into it. It just made it a little more interesting to me. So I'm not sure if it's, you're picking up the green around everything else,
That's probably it.
and then she's the pure stone color. Um,
I like it because it makes her. I think it makes her just a tad cooler than the rest of the image, so it makes her stand out a little bit more. I like it.
okay, yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's a good picture.
Is the I wonder about this, the lower section. I'm pointing with my mouse again.
Well, I'm pointing with my finger on this stuff too. So yes, yes.
Um, if the base of the monument, if that sort of center, the bottom center,
Hmm.
I wonder. I mean, I guess if it didn't jump out at you as being a little blank. Um,
Yeah, you could probably remove that bottom and still have a nice image. To me, it doesn't bother me. It kind of gives a little more context to what she's doing. She's sitting on top of the sarcophagus or whatever, or on top of the monument. That's. But I think you could. I mean, you could get rid of it. But I like the fact that it gives me a little more context.
okay, okay, yeah, that was one sort of question I had about it. So
And again, if you ask, we're like economists. If you ask
yeah,
a dozen of us, you'll get 2 dozen answers, right?
that sounds like programmers on
Yeah.
how to approach something. Um, okay, getting back to my notes, just so I can keep straight of where we are, which ones we're talking about. All right, let's see what else we got. Okay.
Okay. Looking Glass Falls.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I knew you'd recognize it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so it's one of those things of, all right, how do you shoot something that everybody and their brother has shot
A
from
million times. Yeah.
a million times, and do something with it, and what can I come up with? And then I think at one point, Chris, we were looking at the um, color image of the color version of this, and Chris suggested black and white, and so it's like, all right, I'll see what I can find. And so
Yeah.
I have trouble with black and white, but this was an attempt at it.
I think Chris is right. I think the black and white's the way to go on this guy. Um, I like the water as when I look at it, I see some power coming down, and I can see the movement of the water in the stream in the foreground there. One thing that I like, and this is personal preference probably, is I like the black areas to be maybe not quite as dark. I like seeing a little more detail in those areas. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Um,
Both the left, sort of the middle left,
yeah.
and
Even the right where the falls hits where it lands, there's a row across there of rocks that looks very, very dark.
yeah.
Yeah. And that I would like to see that row lightened up a little bit to see if maybe you can get some detail out in there.
Okay.
And then it would also draw your eye more. I think would draw your eye up more up the stream to the waterfall. But
Okay. I mean, because part of
I know it's tough.
yeah, and in some ways, I was looking for that contrast
Right,
between the bright falls and then the sudden stop
right.
of where it hits the base. Um, but again, it might be that I took that a little too far, and a little too dark.
And again, someone else might look at it and love it exactly the way you've got it. So it's
Yeah, well,
everybody
that's
looks, yeah,
and that's what I'm going to listen for. When I get other feedback, from folks. Because what I'll do is I won't publish these changes that we're talking about now
right,
until I
right.
get feedback from other folks as well, and then sort of see what works. Although I'm sure I'll go around and play around with some of them. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
um, okay, yeah, I can see that, and I can see where that could that the
It,
the
it
darks.
and it doesn't have to be real bright. Just maybe just a little bit up, so maybe we can see a little more detail on the rocks. So you still have your contrast.
Yeah, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, I think my math is right.
I love this one.
I
I, Go ahead.
No, I just say I think I remember you did something like this 6-8 months ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and that
But
was that was in the back of my head when I was playing with this.
but I think you did it so much better, and I love the fact that the background is not a solid black. I love the fact that there's some texture to that background, along with the beautiful flower. For me, I wouldn't change anything on this one. This is so nice.
Okay, yeah, no, that was the black sheet or black piece of material that I put up in the background.
Yeah,
But then when I saw that, it's like, yeah, I don't want to push that all the
yeah.
way to black because you just that little bit of sort of it's got a little cool tone, a little blue to it.
Little
Um,
texture back there. It adds so much interest. I like this one. You've done very well with that.
Okay, thanks. Well, we'll see what other folks. I mean, this was a good uh, experiment for me, and playing around with a couple of different things, and
Yeah,
which is
that's
which is what we're here for.
it's exactly right, and that's what we do. Um, Jenny and I go out and shoot all the time, and we love trying different things. We bomb most of the time, but sometimes we get some that are okay.
Yeah, well, I think I've got 65,000
Gee whiz.
photos in my catalog right now,
Mm-hmm.
and that's after purging some of my earlier stuff and not including my astronomy stuff. Um, in another catalog. So yeah, I try all kinds of things and just sort of leave them there.
Yeah, but this one turned out so nice. This is very nice.
Okay, let's see if we. Yep, yep,
That was it.
that's it.
Wow,
All right,
a nice set of images.
good
You,
stuff.
yeah, it is good stuff.
Well, I mean your comments, but that's.
No, your pictures are wonderful. They are very, very nice. You've done extremely well, I think. But
Okay, well, hopefully we can find 5 out of here that will please Glenn, so that I can move on and graduate.
well, if you have to, just take that last flower and put it up 5 times. No, you've got some other good images too. I'm teasing.
Okay, well, I think I can stop screen sharing.
Okay.
And okay, well, that gives us in under an hour, and that's good. So thank you for your feedback. I've made notes. I'm going to go play with stuff, and then, like I said, I'll hang out with some other folks, hopefully sometime this weekend as well, to get some more feedback and get. Yes, Aspen, it's nap time. He's been waiting for me to lean back so he could
Mm-hmm.
get up in my lap. Okay, well, I think that's it. And
All
I'll go
right.
ahead and stop the broadcast. And thanks for your feedback, Steve.
Anytime, and I'll see you later then, Bill.
All right.